Okay, small interruption, students. So I'm starting the screen, sharing the screen now. Okay, is it visible?
Sir, it is
Is it
visible,
visible,
sir.
student?
Sir, it is visible, but your
Okay.
voice is somewhat breaking, sir.
Okay, now it is okay, my voice?
Yes, sir, it's okay.
Right. Okay, anyway, so a small interruption will continue. So anyway, students, another scientist, Jenny, for comfortable, Jenny formulated the following equation. That means he proposed another form of soil forming factors in addition to the Sadokichao. He proposed this the following soil forming factors. What are those? Very first one. Ah, start. Very first one, it's a climate, and another one is plants, that is organisms, and topography or relief, both are synonym. Topography or both are in synonym. And another one is parent material, this is important one. And another one is time. So in addition, so these are the formulations given by the Annie or Jenny. So this is a formula. He said that S represents the soil forming. Soil is equal to F means factors, CL is a climate, O is organisms, R is relief or topography, a parent material, and T is the time. So these are the things, and this dotted lines indicates the additional, some other unknown additional factors. Okay, these dotted lines, it indicates some additional forming factors. So what he said that these five for soil forming factor act simultaneously at one point of on the surface of the earth to produce soil naturally, simultaneously, one after the another. These five soil forming factors will influence the soil forming procedure. And Jenny has further classified the soil forming factors into two types. I hope everyone knows that. It's very fundamental. Very first one is active soil forming factors and passive soil forming factors. What are those active soil factors? What are the active and passive soil forming factors? We will see in the coming slide. Naturally, in NIST classification or in NIST proposal, there are two types of soil. Very first one is passive. What are the passive soil forming factors? So, very first one is parent material and time and topography. These three are the passive soil forming factors. One is the parent material, time, topography, and these are called the passive soil forming factors. And another one is active soil forming factors. What are those? Students, remember this. What are the active soil factors or passive soil factors? Because in recent times they're focusing mostly on fundamentals only. And active soil forming factors, very first one plants and animals, that is organisms. And another one is climate. Both the combination will form the soil. So these are the passive and active soil forming factors. In passive, remember students, in passive, parent material, time, topography or relief. Topography both are same. We can call topography or relief, both are synonyms. The active soil forming factors, plants and animals, or simply you can call organisms, and climate. So these two are the active soil forming factors. Is the importance. These are the two types of factors. So very first students, passive soil forming factors. Passive soil factors need not be any energy, so that there need not to be any source of energy. They represent the source of soil forming mass and conditions affected. And mostly these soil forming factors provide the base for the further action. That means further activity of active soil forming factors. So these passive soil forming factors are the provide the base for the further weathering or further soil development, or it provide the base for the active soil forming factors. In this, they need not to be any energy factor, just they represents the forming of soil forming of mass and conditions. Just the soil mass will be formed, some condition will form. There is no need of any external energy sources, not enough. But these passive soil forming factors will provide the base for the further weathering for active soil factors. They provide the base for the active soil forming factors. And coming to the inactive soil forming factors, sorry, we are dealing with passive, right? In passive soil forming factors, very first we're going to discuss about the parent material. There are three soil forming factors in a passive. The very first important one is the parent material. So mass from which soil are formed. Naturally, it's a consolidated material, parent material. Mostly it may be rock or regolith that differ. So it is in parent material also. There are two types of parent material. One is sedentary. Sedentary means, students, the rock is formed in the where the rock is formed in the same place the soil will be formed. There will be no any transportation. I mean there will be no nothing when there is no any transportation. There is no sedimentation. Nothing. The rock is formed in one place means the same place in the origin of the same place parent material the soil will be formed. And mostly there is no any other forces of there is no any transportation force, nothing. Sedentary, that means that parent material is completely sedentary. In English also sedentary means it is a lazy, just sitting in one side. So in literal meaning is sitting on one portion. That is called the sedentary. And another one is called the transported. This is what very important, which is plays a major role in our even in agriculture also we have this type of meaning. And we will see discussion very clearly about in the coming slide. I think this is a better slide to explain. Where students, remember, follow this slide very much. So imagine this is your rocks and minerals. What will happen? Very first, some sedentary parent, some sedentary means some soils will form in the same place. There will be no any transportation or any force. Just the soil will form in the same place. Well, after what happened? Some residual parent after sedentary, some residues will be left off. After formation, some residues will be come out from this weathering, and some residues will be happen. At one extent, what will happen? Both trees, sometimes the rock and sometimes the residual also, both will combine and transported by the water. So this type of transported by water, we can divide this water for water transported parent material to different types. What are the very first? Deposited in the lakes. If this transported by water is deposited in the lakes, that parent material or that type of soil is called, we call as a lacustrine. Remember, student, this is important base. Please remember this terminology. So the transported by the deposition in the clays, the soils are deposited in the clays are called the lacustrine. And another one which is called deposited by the streams of water streams. What are those are called? Those are called the alluvium soils. Mostly this riverbeds, streams, all these things happen now. Those are called the those type of depositions are called the alluvial streams. And another one is in depositions of oceans. What do you call in deposit? If the soil was deposited in the oceans, those are called the marine. Simple marines. Generally, this marine means ocean, marine science. All this called as those deposits are called the marine. So simply, students, what are the residual or simply the rocks and minerals are transported by the water and deposit in the lakes are called the lacustrine, and transport in the deposit in the streams are called the alluvial, or deposits in the ocean is called the marine. This is another one. This is in case of water. This is in case of water is happen means these are the terminologies which happen. If in case if it's deposited by the ice or glaciers, what should we do? So it's naturally in some few icy areas or some temperature areas, we can see transported of soil or parent material or residuals will be happen by ice also. So those are called as very first one deposited by the ice. Simply if the ice itself is deposited means what should we call them as? We call them as till or moraine. These are the two types of depositions by ice are called the till and moraine. So these are the important. Another one, students, if the ice melts, what will happen? Ice also melts and later it become water. So again it will deposited by the water. If the ice melts and again if the deposition takes place by the ice melted the water means what will happen? Those are called the those are have different names. What is called very first one is called outwash. Outwash means some after deposition some washout will be happen. Outwash, same lacustrine will be there. If this water again deposited in the lakes is called lacustrine. Same if it different by the if it is again deposited by the streams is called alluvial. Simply if this water if this melted ice water is again about it's called the marine. This outwash means simply after some escape from anything, any some sort of escape from this water deposits are called the outwash. This is only difference we can see. So this is in case of deposited by the ice, and this melted ice. Melted ice means simply water. And ice depositions are called the till and moraine. Remember this terminology, students. Very important. You definitely will get at least one blank from this portion. And if in case it is deposited by another factor, what is it? Another factor. It is wind. This outwash, this left out outwash, but what after when water was gone off, when the water was gone off, this outwash, what will happen? It will be deposited. It will be transported by the wind. At the same time, if ice was ice, sometimes ice, what will happen? The ice also sometime in temperate regions also there will be some heavy winds will be flown. Even that time also some soil will be blown out by the wind. So yeah, and directly some from the residual and parent rock material, parent material also some material will be uh, blown out by the wind. So those type of materials, what should we call? Is called these are the deposited by the wind. So the deposited by the wind is called, what we will call? We call it as aeolian. So these are the important things we have to remember, students. Deposited by the water, these are the three different types, and deposited with ice, still and moraine is important. After when melted ice was come, same thing will be repeated. In addition, only we will see only outwash. We will see only outwash. And in melted ice also, and due to the heavy winds in icy area also, there will be some parent material will be blown out by the wind. At the same time, this outwash will be blown out by the wind, and directly some residual rock material also blown out by the wind. And combine all this deposited by the wind. These deposits of wind is called the aeolian. Okay, these are the transported parent material. There are the two types. One is the sedentary, another one is transported parent material. What are the transported materials? These are the transported materials. So these are the important transported materials. I hope you have understand this slide, and we will carry to the next session. So students, we have discussed about the parent material. Now we will see what is endomorphic soils. Endomorphic soils, what will happen means the influence of parent material, with the advent of development, influence of parent material on these characteristics slowly diminishes. I mean, the influence of the parent material, the characteristics of the parent material, what will happen? Slowly diminishes, slowly will be reduces because of some external factors. The soil component parent may subdues with. I mean, what are the characteristics of parent material, or what are the physical and chemical characteristics having or are patterned by the parent material are completely subdued or substituted by the climate and vegetation. So these soils are temperate. Naturally, these type of soils only temperature, only the presence of these type of soils are very temporary until the chemical decomposition or chemical factors or chemical decomposition are very active under the influence of climate and vegetation. Only in climate and vegetation, only we can see this endodynamomorphic soils. This is the endodynamic morphic, because simply the parent material influence is very less in this type of soils. So we will see these are called the endodynamomorphic soils in case of parent material. And another one type of is that is called the ectodynamomorphic soils. Naturally, it is quite ulta, complete opposite to that of endodynamomorphic. Natural development of normal profile under the influence of climate and vegetation. Soil properties influenced by the parent material. Naturally, the development of soil profile after weathering, after soil forming factors, there will be a development of soil profile. So this soil profile is completely influenced by the parent material. Even the characteristics will completely represented by the parent material, especially in initial stage. What will happen in an best example I have mentioned here in acid igneous rocks like granite and rhyolite? What will happen? Produces light textured soils. Here, the parent material influence is very high. At the same time, basic igneous rocks, we can see that basalt. What will happen? There will be alluvium or colluvium derived from the colluvium is nothing but that gravitational students. The gravitational influence of soil formation of colluvium. Remember this word, okay? Derived from the limestone or basalt produced by the fine texture cracking vertices. There is a chance in basalt there is a produce of clay soils. And basic alluvia airline material produced by the fine coarse texture soils. So these are the different influence of parent materials, very important. And also remember students, in nature elements released during the decay of rock, specific soil forming factors, some important elements will be released. Example, silicon, aluminum. This is a very important secondary climate because the octahedra and the tetrahedra, the major elements are silica, aluminum. Tetrahedra, we can see silica in the central. At the same time, in octahedra, we can see aluminum in the central. So this type of minerals will be during the soil formation. There is some release of this type of minerals, this type of elements will be released and produces the secondary clay mineral. Also iron and magnesium will impart the red color due to the oxidation and reduction phenomena. At the same time, sodium and potassium naturally influence the deflocculation or dispersion. Actually, dispersion of soil particles is called the deflocculation. Mostly sodium, we call it as a deflocculation agent. Potassium also deflocculate, but not that much extent of the sodium. Sodium creates a lot of problem when compared to potassium. At the same time, calcium and magnesium are called the flocculating agent. Simply, it will be withhold or we withhold all the particles. In exam, what is the dispersing agent of the soil? You should write sodium. What is the dispersion or deflocculating agent is called sodium. What is the flocculating agent means? You should write the calcium. So, okay, students, remember this. This is a very important question, usually generally asked in the examinations. So, naturally, in this ectodynamomorphic, the parent material influence is very high. Complete, most of the soil characteristics are completely influenced by the parent material. All the characteristics, all the chemical characteristics or physical characteristics. Here we have discussed about the texture characteristic. That's the physical. At the same time, we have discussed about the oxidation reduction and flocculating and dispersion or deflocculating. All these are chemicals. So all these characteristics are completely dependent on the parent material. So those are called the ectodynamomorphic soils, right? And we'll see next. So very first and last we have discussed about the parent material. Next one is the relief for topography. Both are synonym students, both are same words, just a synonym in English. So this type of represent the elevations of the land surface. So completely, simply we can say it is completely depend upon the configuration of the land surface, undulating, low level, or flat level. So these are the different undulating positions are called the relief or topography. Naturally, in FAO guidelines, they are given on standard guidelines in FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization guidelines. What are those guidelines? If the surface is flat to almost flat, what should be the slope angle or angle in percentage? It should be around 0 to 2% and gently undulating. Just there is no that much undulating surface area, but it's very undulating. As per the guidelines, it is around 2 to 5%. At the same time, undulating is around 5 to 10%, and rolling complete ups and downs is there, means that is called the 10 to 15%. Hilly regions, naturally very hilly regions, big hilly regions means 15 to 30%. And steeply dissected, steeply very deep cut is there, means those are called around, there should be around 30% with a moderate range of elevation. Naturally, there will be in deep situations, what will happen? Moderate, the elevations will be less than 300 meters. If it is a mountainous region, big mountainous region means naturally the elevation is more than 300 meters. Actually, the slope is should be more than 30%. The slope area should be more than 30%. So these are the guidelines given by the FAO, Food and Agriculture Guidelines. Uh, Maybe you may get some questions from these angles if the examiner wants to twist the question paper. So next we will see. Okay, now we will see what are the different areas of soil forming, whether it's in flat position, how it will form, in undulating, how it will form, or in deep crevices, how the soil will form. Well, students, we will see how the soil formation flat and almost flat positions. What is the conditions or what is the pedological process involved in the flat and almost flat positions? Well, students, in level topographic positions, almost the entire water receives by through water rains percolates to the water. Percolate, there will be some water will be percolated and due to the leveled surface. Under such conditions, what will happen? Soil form may be considered as a representative of the regional climate. Yes, naturally, if this the soils which are formed on the flat surface, we can say that is a representative. That is a representative of the climate of that particular area, because most of the rainwater will becomes and percolate in that soil. That will happen. They have a normal soil with a distinct horizons. Naturally, there is no erosion problem. There is no any stagnation problem. There is no any hindrance of other elevation or topographical issues. That's why what will happen, there will be formation of proper distinct horizonation. But vast and monotonous level with a little gradient often has impaired drainage condition, mostly due to the monotonous, simple, very monotonous level. Where is monotonous level? Same leveling, what will happen, there is a chance some impair, there is due to the heavy percolation, there will be some problem of drainage issues. That's all. That no, nothing more than that. In flattened soil forming flat and almost flat position. Whereas coming to the undulating means up and downs. Undulating positions, what will happen? The soils on the steep slopes are generally shallow, stony, having weakly developed profiles with a distinct horizon. Yes, students, because due to the undulating, what will happen? Due to there is a severe erosion problem will be there. There will be erosion problem is there. So and will be stony, because whatever the soil is formed, it is continuously will be leached out or eroded. Erosion, there will be due to the heavy erosion. That's why what will happen, you can see a stony and weakly developed profiles. We can see the profile development is completely very weak, whereas in soil or flat or almost flat positions, what will happen there, you can see some profile development. In the same time here in undulating positions, you cannot see any perfect horizontation, because due to acceleration of erosion problem, and there will be removal of surface material before its time it's forming. Naturally before the even the, if it is in the initial stage of soil forming also, due to the water erosion or due to the undulating position, what will happen, it will be removed. So naturally here in this position, the percolation of water is very less, and surface runoff, because of surface runoff, lack of water will be there. So naturally the plants grow very weak. There is the favorable condition of plant growth is very less, which are responsible for checking of erosion. Mostly, if you want to avoid erosions, all those things, what will happen? You have to check the erosion, promote the soil formation. Actually, you have to grow some plants, some which are very deep rooted or which have some grassy vegetation. If you grow in the undulating area, means what will happen? The soil erosion will be controlled, and naturally there will be some development of the soil profile or soil originations, which is helpful, which create an environment for the production of crops, especially in undulating topography. What is next? We will see soil formation depression. Yes, this depression means completely depressed. Actually, in this type we can see in depressed regions, arid and semi-arid, some humid regions. What will happen? Due to the topography, due to the addition of water will be more as the runoff, because in a very high elevation the entire water will become and store in this depressed area. What will happen in such conditions, especially in Uttar Pradesh Tarai region? What will happen? Favors more vegetation growth in a slower rate of the decaying or organic remains. What will happen? The growth of vegetation at very slower rate, at the but the decaying also is very rate. It favors the more, sorry, this provides a vegetative growth is very well, but the decaying position also very less, due to because due to the depression area, due to the depression, the water will be stagnated. Due to this water will be stagnation, there will be no oxygen. So what will happen? The decomposition of organics are very less. So this type of situation will result in a dark colored soil rich in organic matter. Though so the rich in organic matter soils comes into order called so that is different, which is different in rich in order. Mostly we can see mollusols. Mollusols are completely this type of situation we can see only depressed area. And in soil forming and exposure aspects, overall we will see topography affects the soil formation naturally by temperature, vegetation growth, and slope exposure. How this topography will influence means we can say due to the temperature and vegetation growth, the exposure of temperature in southern exposure, sun facing area, what will happen? Subject to the fluctuating in temperatures and moisture. If the undulation is in a sun facing mode, what will happen? The temperatures will be very fluctuated more in southern exposures, and in northern exposures. If the undulation is a northern exposure, what will happen? There will be cooler and humid types. Humid conditions will be provided. At the same time, in eastern western exposures, what will happen? Intermediate positions will be provided. That means there will be very intermediate. The temperatures and the humid conditions will be very in intermediate positions. So this is called these are the soil formation in exposure of topography in different directions, maybe in south, north, and some eastern western directions. Completely it will, this topography will influence the influence will be the temperature, water, runoff. Lot of factors are there, and some vegetation also. So now we have discussed about the topography also, or relief. Both are synonyms, and now later we will see the time. Naturally, for forming of 1 gram of soil, we need some lot of time. We need a lot of years. In simple words, we can say soil formation is very slow. It needs some thousands of years to develop a mature pedon. Pedon is different. It's a different characteristics. We'll see pedon is this word. We will discuss that there is a lot of meaning. That pedon is have a lot of meaning in soil science. We will see in further lectures. And also the period taken by the given soil from a stage of weathered rock, that is regolith, up to the stage of matured soil or maturity, is called as a time. From weathered rock to or regolith to matured soil, that is called the time. The matured soils remains in the subplateau. So complete matured soils, what will happen? It should has a B, C horizons. Okay, if the soil is completely matured, means it should have all these major horizons as shown in this image. Like A, B, C horizon should be present. it takes hundreds of years. So if for producing an inch of soil, it takes hundreds of years. The time of nature devotes to the formation of soil, then the time taken for the formation of soil, it is called the pedologic time. It is called the pedologic time. It has been observed that rocks and minerals are disintegrated at different rates. Naturally, this is also having due to the different minerals or different rocks have a different timing for weathering. Especially the coarse particles of lime are more resistant to limestone, are more resistant to disintegration than those of sandstone. Naturally, limestone is somewhat resistant when compared to the sandstone. Take more time when compared to the sandstone. However, in general, limestone decompose naturally. If they once started, the decomposition rate of lime is more than sandstone by chemical weathering. In physical situation, limestone resistance to the weathering when compared with sandstone. At the same time, in chemical decomposition, limestone decomposes very faster when compared to the sandstone. Like this, the timing or the pedological time for the soil formation of different minerals or different parent matter will have a different conditions. Well, students, continuation of the time, the soil properties also changes with the time. Naturally, in due course of time, the soil, the properties of the chemical properties will completely change. For instance, nitrogen or organic content also increase with the time. Probably the soil temperature is not high. Naturally, if the temperature was not very high, what will happen? There is the nitrogen content, organic matter content will be increases. Naturally, the situation you can see in temperate regions, especially in Uti, Kodaikanal, you can see this type of situation because there it is heavy rain will be there and the temperature and sunlight and temperatures are not that much heavy when compared to tropics. You can see even you can see some one layer called organic layer. You can't O layer. We call it as O layer in pedology. You can't see the type. That is, naturally, there is a temperature was not that much high. Naturally, we can see nitrogen organic matter content will be at the same time calcium carbonate, CaCO3 content may decrease. Have been lost when the time provided if the climate conditions are not arid conditions. In arid condition, you can say there is accumulation of calcium due to the heavy evapotranspiration because whatever the dissolved calcium content is there naturally due to the pull by this due to the vapor transfer what will happen the water will be evaporated but the calcium will be accumulated in the layers that happens only in arid conditions. But if the environmental condition is no, not that way. What will happen? The calcium carbonate simply dissolve in the water and will be washed away. That is not in case of arid condition. But in arid condition, we can see accumulation of CO3. But not in arid condition, there will naturally the losses will be very high. At the same time, in humid regions, the H plus ion concentration increases because of the chemical weathering. In humid regions, what will happen due to the humid conditions? The hydrogen ions condition, hydrogen will be the H plus ion concentration will be very high in chemical weathering. So naturally, there are different stages, students, in time. What are the weathering stages means? What are the weathering stages in compared time is very first one is called the initial, initial, juvenile, virile, senile, and final. Students, remember these 5 stages are very important. You may get some questions from here also. Initial stage, that is very first stage. What will happen? Unweathered parent material. In initial, you can't say any change. Just whatever the parent material is, it will be there. In juvenile, what will happen? Weathering started, but much of the original material still under weather condition. So juvenile, what will happen? The weathering just initiated, just started, but most of the original material will be still in the parent material. Whereas virulent, what in third condition virulent, what do they say? Easily weatherable. Whatever the things are easily weatherable, that is weatherable, fairly decompose. Easily weatherable mineral fairly decomposes. Clay content slowly increases. Slowly weatherable minerals are still appreciable. That means the easily weatherable conditions will be, or whatever the easily weatherable conditions, they will wither and decompose very fast. Naturally, the clay content will be increases, but the witherable, whatever the resistant metals are there, still still in prevail in this viral condition. In senile condition, what will happen? Decomposes reaches its final stage. In senile conditions, the complete decomposition of parent metal reaches the complete means only very few resistant minerals will be survived. In senile conditions, almost everything was completed, but only resistant mineral will be present in that particular situation. And coming to the final complete soil development, we can see soil development complete under prevailing environmental conditions. In particular environmental condition, final stage means you can see that completely soil was developed due to the different soil forming factors. This is called final. Remember these terminologies and impact. They may ask at any question anyway. If they may ask, they simply give this word. Decomposition is just final stage. What is the stage of weathering at this time? Simply they will go initial, juvenile, venile, senile. You should put senile. So you should be thorough with, and you should be very thorough in the stages of weathering. Next. Oh, now after we have completed the passive soil forming factors, another one is active soil forming factors. What are those? The active soil forming factors which supply energy. You see, here they need energy. They act on the mass which is provided by the passive soil forming factors. So these are the factors. What are those? Climate and vegetation. Vegetation is nothing but biosphere. In mostly in images, in pictures, we see animals and plants. What are the very first? Climate. Very first, we will see the climate. Climate is the most significant factor on the type and rate of soil formation. The dominant climate regions. What are those? Due to the climate, actually, climate influence the what type of parent material, irrespective of parent material, the soil matter or final soil conditions are completely different. Especially, we have different different climatic conditions. Arid climate, humid climate, oceanic climate, Mediterranean climate, continental climate, temperate climate, especially arid climate. The precipitation is far less than compared to the water needed in arid zone. Naturally, in this arid climate, the precipitation, that means water which is required, is very less. If the soil remains dry for most of the times, the soil will be very dry in a complete year due to the lack of precipitation, due to the lack of water in arid climatic conditions. So naturally, if water is very less, means the reaction is also very less. In humid conditions, what will happen? It's pakka opposite to the arid climate. The water is more, excess water will be there. What will happen? All the salts will be leached out, and all the clay will be translocated from the clay colloids. All the salts and all the bases will be leached out in the humid climatic condition. Yeah, because here the precipitation is more, water is needed, which water is very excess than needed. In oceanic climate, what will happen? You can see very moderate variations. You can see very moderate variations in rainfall and temperature. In Mediterranean climatic conditions, the moderate precipitation, winter and summer are dry and hot. Naturally, here also the precipitation will be very different. We can see winters are very dry, summers are somewhat very hot. And continental climate, warm summers and extreme cool and cool weather. Naturally, this type of climate are somewhat prevalent. Most of we may enjoy. Most of the southern Indians are enjoy this type of climate, this type of continental climate, because we have very hot summers, we have extreme cool winters. Mostly this continental climate is we are very familiar. And coming to the temperate climate, cold and humid conditions with warm summers. I think this type of climate we can see only in some Kulu Manali and northern Himalayas. We can see this type of climatic conditions, cold and humid with warm summers. And tropical and subtropical climates, warm to hot, humid with isothermal conditions in the tropical zone. Here the conditions are very warm to humid with isothermal conditions. Isothermal means some thermal variations in tropical zone. These are the different climatic conditions prevail, and the soil formations will be different in the different climatic conditions. Maybe what are those effects? How the effect of climate will, actually there are two type of conditions. One is direct effect and indirect effect. Directly, climate affect the soil by supplying of water and heat with reactive parent material. Directly, what will happen if there even indirectly parent directly climate will affect by the water or by the heat. These are the two direct effects. Indirect effect means after getting this water and heat, what will happen? The flora and fauna, the animals and or microorganisms or plants will develop and furnish the source of energy. From this, they act up. After getting this development of this flora and fauna, what will happen? They will act upon the rock and minerals and forming and release of some acids and salts, and they will release. Indirect effects of climate and soil formation morely clearly is in relation to the soil vegetation. Naturally, the indirect effect of the climate are completely influenced on the vegetation. So naturally, the formation will be different. See how the interrelated both are, climate and vegetation. If the climate have a good water supply and temperature, naturally we can see there is a development of vegetation, and that vegetation will release, or that vegetation act upon the rocks and minerals, and there is a formation and release of salts, acids and all, and finally end up with the development of some excellent soils. So precipitation, temperature, two major climatic elements which contribute to the soil formation. See students, precipitation is nothing but water or rainfall. Precipitation and temperature, these are the two important factors which contribute to the soil formation. And now precipitation. Now we will see what is the precipitation or rainfall. So mostly it is very important soil forming factor. That is precole. Let's move on from one part to another. Naturally, if it rains, means what will happen? It won't be stagnated. The water will be percolated, and suspension. It leads to the formation of a soil solution, and that is called suspension. The suspended material will be carried from one part to another. There is a transportation of minerals. There is a transportation of some base materials or some mineral material or even some soil particles also will be taken. What will happen? Sometimes the entire soluble matter, the translocation of upper layer completely will be taken place, as we discussed in the undulating areas. Thus, the rainfall brings a redistribution. Completely, what will happen? There will be a
Precipitation,
redistribution
yeah,
of element. There will be redistribution of soil material from one part to the another, and as well as leads to suspension. So this is the importance of the precipitation. Coming to the temperature, temperature is another influential soil forming factor. What will happen? High temperature hinder the process of leaching and causes a upward movement of the water soluble forms. Especially student, this type of condition we can see in arid systems. What will happen due to the very high temperatures? What will happen? There will be evapotranspiration. The leaching process there, because heavy temperature. What will happen? The water will be completely evaporated. There will be a movement of upward movement of soluble soil solubles. All the minerals, especially our calcium, will completely move to the upward positions. That is what happening in our arid conditions. And due to this high temperature, there is a favorable condition of organic matter decomposition. Microbial activity will be increases naturally. And whereas if you see if the temperatures are very low, you can see the accumulation of organic matter is very high and the decomposition very less. Thus the temperature controls the both chemical and biological reactions on the parent material. That's why temperatures play a major role. It controls the chemical and biological reactions in the or biological weathering in the plant material. So actually, naturally, what Jenny in 1941 he computed that tropical regions at the rate of weathering was 3 times faster than the temperate regions and 9 times faster than the Arctic region. This is what Jenny has quoted in his literature. He said that in tropical regions, the rate of weathering 3 times faster than in the temperate regions and 9 times faster in Arctic region, complete icy area. So in tropical regions, we can see very well developed situation because here the temperature is very high, and though the water is there completely due to the heavy temperature, the microbial activity is more. Decomposition will take in very fast. Naturally, these acids or some chemicals released by the microorganisms will completely act upon the parent material, and that leads to the division or weathering of parent material and leads to the formation of soil horizons. And finally, we will see organisms or vegetation. This is called the organisms. Our final active soil forming factors. As we discussed, this is quite similar. As you already we have discussed about the precipitation and temperature. Now we can see active components of soil plant like plants, animals, microorganisms, and man. Active. This needs a release. Naturally, role of what microorganisms will do. They will do the humidification. Humidification is nothing but we will see specifically in next class. We will see what is humidification. Humidification is complete decomposition and mineralization of vegetation and action of animals, especially burrowing animals. Naturally, what will happen? A burrowing animal, they will dig with their claws. That means their powerful jaws right there. They will dig up and they'll mix the soil mass. This physically, there will be some physically, there will be some weathering, and they ultimately this physical weathering end up with the chemical weathering. Man, even we human beings also will influence the soil formation due to our agricultural practices. We may add different fertilizers. We may add some different compost we will add. Due to that, what will happen? We'll produce some different plants. This will also influence the soil formation. Compared by the traffic of man and animal, decrease the rate of water infiltration in the soil, thereby increasing the rate of runoff. What will happen? Due to our man-made situations, what will happen? The infiltration rate will be reduces, and that leads to the runoff. Due to this runoff, you can see some erosion. That's why wherever you go, wherever there is a man or a human intervention is there, there will be a destruction for the nature. Even a small animal, even small ant is contributing something to the mother earth by doing something at that organism level. But we humans, what we are doing, we are destroying the nature instead of due to our heavy practices, like we are running the heavy loads of tractors or heavy machineries on the soil. What will happen? There will be compaction. Due to that instead of infiltration, what will happen? We are remove the runoff taking very high, and this due to this runoff, we are losing our top fertile soil due to the erosion. This leads to the lot of another problematic situation. That is the condition of humans in the soil vegetation. Coming to the vegetation, that means in situation of Plants, what they're doing? Plants will penetrate their roots into the mechanically, and both mechanical and chemical, because due to the carbon dioxide, all this, they'll do all the respiration. The facility the percolating and drainage during this penetration. Due to the root penetration, they facilitate the drainage, and due to the release of carbon dioxide, some acid will be formed. This will lead to them, and also decomposition of humidification will takes place. Forests, especially in forest, you can see reduce temperature, increasing humidity, reduce evaporation, increase the precipitation. So all this reaction and shedding of their leaves, all these things leads to the formation of contribute something to the soil formation. Also grasses, especially students, grasses have high CEC, high cation, that means they can withhold the soil particles very tightly. That's why it can control the runoff or erosion problem. And also it will due to its withholding capacity of grasses vegetation, there will be some release of some say, carbon dioxide, some acids, and that leads to the formation, that leads to the weathering or development of the soil formation also. That's why to avoid, we should not leave our field as fallow. At least we should leave some vegetation in the soil to avoid the erosion problem, or to avoid the infertility problem in our field. That's why vegetation plays a major role due to its heavy deep root penetration systems. So that's all for today class. We have discussed the simple topic. Thank you. Any questions are welcomed. If there is any questions or any queries, you can ask. Yes, students. Okay, please. If you have any questions, we can discuss, or we can go for poll. That means I can ask you some questions. Okay. Okay, then I'm going for a poll. Someone asked, Chandra Prithvi. Soil farming is Jenny said. What do you? I mean, it's not clear. What's the question? Whether you're asking Jenny was proposed by soil farming factors or what? If that is your question, yes, Jenny is a person who said who given the soil forming factors. Though Dokicha have given that is not that much influential, but Jenny is a person who have given the active and soil forming factors. Jay, if you got that question, Jenny is the right answer. Good. Is there any questions other than this? Yes, yes. Jenny is the answer. Okay, shall I go for polling? If there is no questions means. Okay, then I'm launching my first question. Please answer. Which of these parent material is not produced by any sorting actions? Whether it is alluvium. Sorting action means there is no another influence. There should not be any influence of water or something. What are those? Whether it's alluvium, lacustrine, colluvium, or loose? Please answer. Everyone should answer, please. There is no any sort of actions, nothing, and there is no action of wind, no action of water, no action of ice or nothing. What are those? Where is alluvium, lacustrine, or loose, or colluvium? Okay, it's almost 1 minute. Actually, students, remember the question is which of these parent material not produced by any sort of actions? Actions means transporting actions. Action of water, action of wind, action of any external force. In alluvium, you can see there is action of water. In Lucaston also there is action of water in lakes naturally. In alluvium you can see river streams. In you lose also you can see wind actions. But in colluvium it is only gravitational influence, nothing. This is formed only due to the gravitational influence it will form in colluvium. Nothing. The answer is naturally in these four options. You should choose the colluvium, not loose. Colluvium is the right answer. Only one person have answered this on this question. Colluvium is your answer. Okay, third is another question. Soil age can be best determined by the which factor? Which of these following factors we can say the soil age? By seeing some particular situation, as I have explained about the soil forming factors. I've explained about the what are the different soil forming factors, what are the different climatic conditions. I have explained all those things. I have mentioned one word very repeatedly. If you follow my lecture, what is that? By its origination or topographic location, surface color, or by only by seeing this, you can see we can predict the age of the soil. What are those? A perfect soil has this character dash in time. I have mentioned. What is that? Come on. Now, think, students. Think. I said that the today class is very simple, but questions will be very different. Think once. I think time is very hard. Okay, the time up, please. Students, if you want to say one particular soil is completely developed during the particular is what is the conditions? Origins, complete development of origins. You can see the best age. What is that different? What is the age? You can age different age only because after weathering you can't see parent material. Surface color, there will be a lot of factors. There is in some soils you can see iron content will be more. In some soils you can't see iron content. In topographic location also it is very important because topographic conditions completely changes from one area to another. There's complete variation. Only in origination you can see origination, development of origins. You can see each and every line in our time, and especially in vegetation, in topography also. I have mentioned this word origination. Only in origination is the best factor which we can determine the age of this soil. If there is a complete origins, ABC origins are there means there is a completely developed soil or matured soil. So answer is origination, not profile. Why today no one is answering properly? Okay, let's see how many will answer this. What is the mode of transportation causes colluvium deposits? I think I'll leave this answer. Everyone should answer. Colluvium deposits. What do you call colluvium deposits? Please. What about rest all three? Very simple question. Good. One student was left out. Please give answer, whatever it might be, right or wrong. That's different. Oh no, don't put in chat box. Give your answer. repeat the question. Okay, I will repeat the question, Mr. Prithvi. I will repeat later. I will repeat your question. Students, what is the mode of transportation caused by the colluvium deposits? Actually, in slide also I didn't mention, but I have given oral explanation. Colluvium deposits are complete deposit due to the gravity. Because students, imagine if the soil was transporting by any mean, whether it is a water or wind, whatever mode of transport, what will happen? All soil particles may not move to the further extent. Some soil particles will be very heavy, very heavy in mass. Those soil particles will be deposited in one area due to the heavy gravitational influence or due to the heavy mass. So those type of depositions are called the gravity, or the influence by the gravity are called the colluvium. Those are called the colluvium deposits. Colluvium deposits are called are completely mode of transport is called the gravity. Okay, I hope you got your question, your doubt. Mr. Prithvi, your question is related to this question. I think is it audible? Everyone is listening to me. First one. Okay, I will after end of this poll. I will repeat that question. Right. Next one. Okay. I think. Wait. Right, students. I'm repeating the one question. Just use your use your common sense. See this. Common sense means I'm not criticizing. Just think once. What future would best tell a soil age? Just repetition of previous question. Just say this. Maybe sometimes the same concept will be asked in different angles. I'm asking in different angle. What is that? Parent material, topography, color of a horizon, or profile differentiation? Just it's a repetition actually. I'm asking the same question in two different ways. Okay, one person have answered color of a horizon. Next, profile differentiation. Another one. Good. Next. Okay, another one. D is profile differentiation. Next. Okay, I'm getting majority is getting D. Next, I think 5, 6. Two students were not given answer. Give it. Come on, students. Time up. Students were not giving answer to students. Okay, the answer is profile differentiation. Profile differentiation is nothing but horizon differentiation. Simple, just similar. Profile, horizon, all are similar, all are related to one thing. So answer is profile differentiation. Coming to another one. Answer this question. This is also very easy. Loose depositions is due to which one? Glaciers, water, wind, ALN. I think this you have seen in our presentation. Come on. Everyone should answer this very simple question. Loose depositions is due to, if you see my that animated slide, everyone should answer correctly. 4. Only 2 students were not given answer. Answer is wind. Wind is answer. Already said in presentation, wind is answer. But loose depositions. Loose, not water. Loose. Loose is wind. Okay, this is general question, students. Answer for this. The branch of soil science that studies soil in relation to higher plants is pedology, geomorphology, adaptology, or ecology. Very simple question. This is general question. This general question, students, please answer. The branch of soil science that studies soils in relation to higher plant is known as. You study the soil science in relation to the higher plants. What is that? Pedology, geomorphology, adaptology, or ecology? Don't give answer in chat box. Please go through poll. Only 3. Whatever rest of 3. Okay, it's almost more than 1 minute. Answer is simple, adaptology. If the genesis of soil is studied, that is pedology. If we really read the soil in relation to higher plant, it is called the adaptology. This is general question. Hereafter, for every lecture, I will ask one general question daily. 7th one. Okay, student. This is I have stressed this question very much. Which soil factors or which soil forming factors provide base for the next level of weathering? Whether it's active soil forming factors or passive soil factors or both or none. Only 2. Please, everyone should answer. Oh, 3. Okay, 4. And 2 more. Okay, students. I think 2 students were not interested. They're not giving answer for any question. Answer is majority are given passive factors. Yes, the passive factor will provide the base for the next level of that means next level means active soil primary factors will act upon the what are the left out mass provided by the passive soil priming factors. Okay, answer for this. The agent responsible for sorting of alluvial deposits. That means the agent which is responsible for the alluvial deposits. What is that? Whether wind, ice, water, or gravity. Oh, come on, 2 more. Two students were not answering. Why? Okay, almost time is ending up. Yeah, it's 1 minute. 100%. Yes, all are right. Given right answer. It is water. Water influences the alluvial deposits. Naturally, in river streams, we can see. So I think Prithvi have asked the first one. Which of these parameters are not product of the any sorting actions? Sorting actions, Prithvi. There is no any forceful sorting any forceful actions. Gravity means there is no need. Just there will be some settlement only will take in place. In alluvium, not like that. There is influence of water. In Lucas tunnels, there is influence of water. In loose also there will be a wind sort of actions will be there. But in colluvium, nothing there. Only some heavy mass material will settle in one area, in particular due to heavy mass. But that is influence of the gravity only. So those are called the colluvium deposits. In that we can see any sorting actions. But you can see sorting actions in alluvium, leucostrine, and loose. In colluvium, you can't see that one. I hope you got my explanation. Okay, fine. Okay, students, with this, we are completing this session. And if next time going to deal pedology means we have to see the specific pedogenic process and pedogenic process we will see. And if you have time, please go through that. Just go headings and all those things. We will see next class. If you have any questions or any doubts, we can ask. Second round. Have any questions? Any doubts is there means?